There are new developments in Chesapeake and over controversy over a pier. We reported this last month.
The people who live in the neighborhood say the pier keeps them from getting access to the river. Investigative reporter Chris Horne is here now with the latest development, a defeat for the opponents and a victory for the man who built that controversial pier. Chris?
Yeah, up until last night, Nicole, about half the pier was sitting on city property, an underwater right-of-way at the end of a street. But Chesapeake City Council voted unanimously to close that parcel, so half of it will go to Kenneth Campbell, the man who built the pier, and the other half to his neighbor across the street. Despite the victory, Campbell wasn't exactly talkative following the decision, but his neighbors had plenty to say.
We moved to Chesapeake from Virginia Beach specifically to own a home on water.
Katie Herman is among 10 families in Western Branch who had hoped for a different outcome Tuesday night at Chesapeake City Council. They opposed a pier built by one of their neighbors 5 years ago. The view from Chopper 10 shows how their inlet actually has two piers. The straight pier was built first, and then less than a year later, Kenneth Campbell began construction on the longer angled pier. That's the one that upstream neighbors say blocks their access to the river. Campbell says all the relevant regulations were signed off when his pier was built.
All departments and agencies, to include the CBPA, the Army Corps, VMRC, and other city officers of Chesapeake, all met on my pier and determined that I was in compliance.
Until last night, about half of the 264-foot pier was on city property, an underwater right-of-way. Council voted unanimously to transfer the property to Campbell and his neighbor across the street, who owns the straight pier. The council decision was the exact opposite of a recommendation by the Planning Commission, also unanimous, to deny Campbell's request to transfer the parcel. Even though the ruling went in Campbell's favor, he didn't want to answer our questions afterward. Did the pier have to be as long as it was? Was there an alternative that you could have had a shorter pier with a platform? And if there's some awkward silence in this interview, how about life along Parkway Road moving forward?
It's going to be very uncomfortable. He's got what he wanted right now anyway, and we have to live with the consequences.
I'm not happy with it at all because I just think it gives us no recourse now to ever have that pier torn down.
And despite navigational concerns from the upstream neighbors, the Army Corps of Engineers says it approved the pier because their section of the inlet is a mudflat at low tide. Well, the neighbors say they're continuing to look into that decision as well as the legality of last night's action by City Council. Chris Horne, 10 on your side.